Welcome to Marketers Talking Marketing.
Welcome to another episode of Marketers Talking. Today we're joined by Rebecca. Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Hi, well, my name is Rebecca Chalson, and I have almost a decade experience in personal branding, digital marketing. I come from a corporate sales, business development background, and it was a natural transition going into this world because at the end of the day, we're all selling ourselves. And that's really important when it comes to personal branding and understanding your personal identity to be able to do that effectively.
100% agree. The thing that really stood out when I looked at your LinkedIn and we started talking is you're a full stack marketer who I would say has found their kind of passion area niche, and you're going deep in it, but you really understand that brand doesn't exist in a silo. It's pulling into all these other areas.
Absolutely. You know, very often when people think of personal branding, they think of the building blocks. Those are what comes to mind. They think of social media marketing, blogging, public speaking, creating a podcast. But again, I like to emphasize that those are the building blocks. You first have to discover your personal brand before you can unleash and spotlight it. And that's where I come in as a personal branding consultant.
How does someone discover their personal brand?
So there are a number of exercises I recommend. I do strategy sessions to really uncover it. And it really, for lack of a better word, it's a magical experience because very often people take for granted what comes natural to them. So when you think of personal branding, it's your strengths, your personality, your years of experience, your skill sets, your unique insights or methods. And again, people are so used to, incorporating this in everyday life that they don't always recognize, and even more so, they don't know how to spotlight or articulate it. And that's where I come in.
I'm kind of laughing internally with this because Pavel, my co-founder, and I recently went through an experience where we had this idea in our head of who we are, what our brand is, where expertise lies. And then we started talking to other people who know us really well. And we said, what do you think we do well? What do you think we do that other people don't do? And what they came back with was, specifically, it was AI related things. And we're like, yeah, I mean, we do that. We've built AI products. We've worked with AI literally since 2016 before ChatGPT was a thing, but we're not experts at it. We're not special. And then we started looking, we're like, holy shit, actually we are. And because like you're saying, taking it for granted, we thought that we were proficient at Excel, and it turns out we're exceptional.
Right.
I imagine you run into situations like that with clients pretty often where you're able to help them kind of pull out things they weren't looking at.
Absolutely. So two things I want to mention, and this is what I like to say, is your business or service is what you do, but your personal brand is how you show the world what you do. So again, it's all in the positioning and how you articulate and spotlight. So you brought up a good point about AI. Now everybody is wanting to implement it and work smarter, not harder. And AI really can be great for creating systems, streamlining. But again, it's so important to have that person who can bring it all together. And personal branding is a vulnerable experience because again, it's tying in your personality, your unique strengths, your background, and even a rise up hero story. So it's very personal. I had to go through my own experience, and that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about it. In fact, people can grab my copy or grab a copy of the book Women Who Rise. And the chapter, Create Your Potential, is really goes into detail about the challenges I overcame, limiting beliefs, and really being able to discover my personal brand. So I'm not going to go into in detail, but one of my challenges was limiting beliefs. I came from a background where I was the oldest of 10 children, and I felt like a number very often. In fact, I talk about it's funny when we were in the grocery store, people literally count like we were ducklings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as we're walking by. So again, I felt like a number. And how many of you listening, watching, have ever felt like a number, lost in the crowd, whether it's in corporate America or whether you're an entrepreneur and there's so many voices and so much competition? How do you stand out? You have to discover and spotlight your personal brand. So again, when people work with me, there's one thing working with AI, right? Which is a program that you can put in information and spit out. But it's another thing to work with somebody who's personally gone through the experience, who can simplify your journey and teach you how to take systems and automate process. And yes, maybe incorporate AI, but you need that navigator.
It kills me whenever I see these AI tools that are built by, I'm just going to say it, 20-some-year-olds who have never worked in industry, and they're putting out tools for doing sales outbounding, but they've never cold called. They don't know anything about the sales process, and they're just building tools to automate things that tedious and should be automated, but they totally lack the experience to really understand how it works in industry.
Absolutely. And, personal branding, another thing I like to emphasize is essentially what I do is I create the bridge for corporations, C-suite executives to creating the bridge to be more personal. Because often these companies, CEOs, executives, they know how to articulate their service or their product or the company, but they don't know how to articulate their personal brand, their values, their unique strengths, what they bring to the table in their offerings, in the role that they play. So to your point is it's so important to have somebody working with you who has lots of life experience, lots of corporate experience, as well as entrepreneurial experience, know how to tie it all together.
Yeah. Now, I feel like 10 years ago, if someone was focusing on their personal brand and they had a strong brand they're putting out as really differentiator, is it still a differentiator today, or is it more of table stakes where if we're talking to a company that doesn't have a leader with a personal brand, we feel like something as a consumer, something might be a little bit off with them?
Absolutely. In fact, here's some really interesting statistics. Executives attribute 47% of their company's reputation to the reputation of their CEO.
Wow.
That's almost half. So
Yeah.
now more and more organizations are willing to invest in the personal branding of their individuals because they realize that it could either be a liability or an optimization to their end marketing strategy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
really key. And then here's another statistic I want to put out there is 74% of individuals say that those who have a personal brand tend to be more trustworthy.
I 100% believe that because we feel like we know them often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People trust those who have an established personal brand. To your point, it's about getting to know the person behind the business or service.
Yeah. It feels like the celebrityification of business leaders, which as someone who's always read nonfiction books and been obsessed with business since a young age, I appreciate it. It makes me feel more normal in that sense.
Yeah. It's so true.
So you've created the personal brilliance formula.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. So I created this to simplify the personal branding journey because, like I said, I have almost a decade of experience. I've gone through my own, journey. I've been a part of other people's journey, and it can feel convoluted, right, and complicated, especially when you're bringing in all the different building blocks of personal branding. Now let's add AI to the mix.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've simplified the journey with the professional brilliance formula. And essentially, I help people spark their inner genius. And SPARK is an acronym and obviously stands for the main pillars in how I work with people. And essentially, I use this formula to triage where industry experts need the most support so we can prioritize the first step.
Awesome. I love a framework. Just being candid. And yes. I think this is also really timely in general because I'm seeing more and more people that are trying to build businesses on their expertise versus building products and services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
So
they go hand in hand though. Like you have to know what distinguishes you and how you're an expert. When I am in front of an audience, I'll ask them, I'll say, how many of you feel that you're an industry expert? Okay, that's great. But how many of you have actually received recognition as an industry expert? Right? And those are typically the people who really have owned that professional brilliance, where recognized and seen. So yes, you have to be able to distinguish your expertise, but to your point, you need to know how to package it. In fact, and position yourself as an expert. In fact, that's one of the pillars for Spark. P stands for packaging your offerings.
I was just going to ask if that was the P side of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not just, that doesn't just cover how you position your services, whether you are a public speaker, whether you're a consultant, but also in how you price, how you value the service, because that really is a whole strategy in of itself.
Oh my gosh, is it ever? I have talked to so many earlier stage entrepreneurs or people who are just leaving their corporate job for the first time, and I'll ask them what their pricing is, and the number of times I've told them it's too high is 0. The percentage of times I've told them it's too low is almost 100%.
And absolutely. It's so true. And, you know, especially for those who really enjoy creating an impact, you get a sense of fulfillment by improving the lives of others, which is my background, is my passion. I have never been money motivated. I have been passion and fulfillment driven. And often when I talk to entrepreneurs and that's what they lead with, they have a hard time valuing themselves correctly, because they'll say, I would give this away for free because I love people.
Yeah.
Good. And here's something to think about. If you want to scale and amplify your impact and potentially reach more people, you really have to monetize your services effectively. So it could be selfish, actually, to just give everything away for free, because then or give everything away for free, or to not monetize how you structure and price your services, because you're not contributing to the value that you're really bringing to the table and that other people can perceive as value.
Yeah. You have to put your oxygen mask on first and make sure that you can pay your bills and pay for your internet.
You know, to go into that, you know, I've talked to people who said, who am I to stand out? You know, and there's people, for example, I came from a background, my family actually joined a religious conservative lifestyle when I was 14. It was actually a cult. If you're curious about it, you can check out Shiny Happy People on Netflix. There's a family there that was part of the same cult that we were. That being said, you know, we were not encouraged to stand out, let alone have our own sense of identity. It was all about blending in. And in fact, we were told that it was wrong to bring attention to ourselves. So one of the things is I've gone through my own healing journey and I've come to terms with my identity and my gifts, is we've all been given strengths and gifts, and it's selfish actually for us to withhold them. We are meant to shine. We are meant to share those things that could contribute to supporting the welfare of others.
Yeah. You don't want to just hoard your knowledge. Yeah. It sounds like you have probably gone through quite an evolution personally then with, kind of stepping into your own, which is so inspiring always to see people who have, you know, pushed through and persevered through maybe others who don't want them to shine, I will say.
Yes, absolutely. And here's something I want to mention as well. For those who maybe struggle with imposter syndrome, they have gotten a recognition for their strengths. You know, maybe they are those top industry experts, CEOs, executives, but they're afraid to tell their why story or shine in a bigger way. You know, I want to encourage them that, you know, you have these unique, if you've been given a dream and if you've been given a sense to want to support others, you've also been given the ability to do that. The key is to find the right support system to help what I call spark that inner genius and really allow your professional brilliance to come to the surface in a way that maybe you haven't allowed it to before.
If someone's listening and they're saying, oh shit, that's me, what do they do? What's the first step?
So you can actually go to my website, professionalbrilliance.com, and you can take action in several ways. One, we are actually rolling out our own podcast called Spark Your Genius.
Nice.
And that's coming out soon. So you will see that you will see the option to be able to go into that podcast to check out episodes as well as I am creating that podcast. But essentially, we're going to be interviewing top industry experts and their unique methods and insights and strengths that have helped them really shine their inner genius, so to speak. And it's really meant to rise up stories to inspire our listeners and also to have some practical takeaways for how they can rise up and shine as well.
I love it.
Yes, they can take action with our podcasts and listen to those and subscribe. They can also download my free ebook called Spark Your Inner Genius, Monetize Your Expertise. And this really is a workbook with actionable steps, exercises, brainstorming support, as well as strategies to help you monetize your expertise effectively online and potentially create a passive stream of income, potentially lucrative income.
Monetizing expertise, I feel like, is the hot topic for 2024. I feel like I'm seeing it everywhere. And a lot of the kind of large internet personas in personal development space are talking more about building and launching courses and monetizing your expertise. And it feels like a huge wave is coming in the education space.
Absolutely. And we go into that in more detail in this workbook. In fact, we also talk about how people can receive a jump start with a Speaker Success Kit that we have that really provides that all-in-one resource so people know how they can monetize and set up their speaking business. As well as we have next steps for creating digital assets online, such as an online course or an ebook themselves. So definitely download that free workbook. And then also they can schedule a complimentary strategy session. Now, you do have to go through a qualifying questionnaire, but assuming you qualify, I personally meet one-on-one, or in the future, I will be having other team members that will be meeting as well. And yeah, we're looking forward to getting to know our industry expert, prospects to really help them shine as industry leaders and thought leaders, really.
Yeah. So what else should people know about building a personal brand or building really the ability to monetize their expertise that isn't always top of mind?
So I really emphasize the importance of LinkedIn, especially as industry experts, because think about this. LinkedIn is the largest nationwide professional business directory in the world. And as of now, there are more than 1 billion users internationally, right? Now, keep in mind too, most CEOs, executives, decision makers don't respond to cold calls or emails anymore. If you can have a strategic personal branding strategy with your LinkedIn profile, I guarantee people will engage their target audience in a more effective way. And that's one of the things that we can help with is we actually have a LinkedIn makeover optimization strategy where completely done for you banner, bio, make sure you optimize your section. So it's really key. I would say too, when it comes to your LinkedIn profile, having a headline that really highlights your strengths. Again, it's about who you are, not just who you are. Now, if I can, if we have some time, I want to share an exercise.
Oh, yeah.
People to start thinking about how do they narrow down their personal brand. Okay, so what I recommend is this exercise where you ask, it's 3-3-3. Ask 3 people who are your friends. What are the 3 top characteristics or strengths, I should say, that they would say define you? Okay, so ask 3 of your friends, ask 3 of your family members to do the same, and ask 3 of your colleagues to do the same. Now you can ask for 3 to 5 strengths, if you want a little bit more. But the point of this is to then start recognizing the theme and possibly what your core strength is. And these may have been strengths that you've been taking for granted. So then what I like to do with my clients is, as we are creating their social media marketing strategy, as we're doing their LinkedIn profile revamp or their speaker website, or supporting them and thinking about their blogging strategy, we like to weave in those strengths and discuss how those can really be emphasized in each of those different channels.
I love that. That is super similar to how Pavel and I found out that we're AI experts, which sounds so weird to say in that method. We know we've used AI for a long time, and we have the chops behind it too, not just faking it.
Yes, but keep in mind that's what AI can't do. AI is tell you what your friends, your family, and your friends, family, colleagues say specifically about you. AI might be able to pull some things from, online, but these are people who have known you potentially for years and might be able to articulate in a way that AI will become second nature. And plus, here's the reason why that exercise is important. Is, again, people very often take for granted what they know and who they are. What you're also doing is you're creating that connection with people in your network where you're able to get more personal with them as well. And you're opening the door for not just encouragement, but positive feedback, which is really important to have during a personal branding journey.
Oh, yeah. The feedback side. Yes. So important.
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to talk a little bit, I guess we can talk about it next, the thought leadership platforms.
Yeah.
We help people spotlight their strengths. It's not just about creating a website. It's really about creating your foundation to distinguish you from your competition as a thought leader.
Yeah, let's dive into that more.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've experienced in my own personal branding journey, and I've seen other people do, is you, again, simplify that journey. And we obviously have the professional brilliance formula. So what we've done is we've taken that formula and we've created a platform based on those best practices. And what it does is it ties in having a presence as a thought leader, as a podcast host, which is a really great way to share your insights. We also tie in LinkedIn optimization. We tie in social media marketing strategy on 3 different platforms to make sure that we're consistent. We tie in the speaker success kit, which actually has all the tools needed to really get that springboard, such as your initial contracts, your email template, your speaker one sheet. We will actually design a speaker one sheet, which is really key to make sure that people are positioned as thought leaders in a credible way. And that's what you would use to get booked as a speaker. We also tie in a LinkedIn optimization strategy to actually support you in creating engaging conversations with people who would either get booked on your podcast or that you would interact with that could be referral partners for your services. So again, when I say thought leader platform, it's so much more than a website. It's so much more than just lead gen. It really is a foundation where we tie in systems, automation, strategy, and marketing to really help build up an industry expert to be spotlighted in the most credible way.
Yeah, I feel like this is the differentiator between what AI can do, but also just someone who's not as experienced may come in and say LinkedIn is the only platform you need, where there's more to the world than just LinkedIn, even though LinkedIn is definitely a main focus point. But if you have that same kind of presence on other platforms that supports it, it can help.
Absolutely. Right. And the key, so one of the letters in Spark is K, the last letter, and that stands for keep shining. And the way you keep shining is by staying consistent with the right systems and habits and strategies. But you really need to incorporate automation. because very often people are a one-man show, or they may have a
Mhm.
but they don't specialize in some of these aspects that we're talking about. So when I work with clients, we set up systems behind the scenes to automate so that they can really focus on shining their professional brilliance.
Yes, I love that. No, I feel like so much of today is me being like, I love what you're saying. But we do the same thing oftentimes. But once you have the thing built, because you don't want to automate inefficiencies, you don't want to automate something that isn't working. So once you have the right stuff built, automation, some people still think it's a dirty word, but it can help, especially solopreneurs, get so much more scale out of it.
Absolutely. And that's what we focus on is scaling, because when it comes to building your influencer platform, you need to have a scalable framework. And basically, when we set up the thought leader platform, it's a scalable framework. We also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we launched findmyguestspeaker.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we did that last year. It's a nationwide speaker directory. So what people actually benefit in working with us is not just spotlight us providing them support and spotlight in their network and their platform, but we have the Find My Guest Speaker platform that we also will promote them through. So again, it's all about positioning. It's all about leveraging and delegating and being able to really focus on your zone of genius.
Nice. So, and it sounds like what I'm hearing you say also is that podcasting is a fantastic avenue, either hosting a podcast or being a guest on a podcast to help really get your brand out there too.
Absolutely. But there's a strategy to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And what we do, especially since we work with industry experts who very often are C-suite executives, founders, they have so much already juggling and prioritizing. We take all of that off their plate when it comes to setting up a podcast. We handle the tech setup, the design, the strategy, even strategize with them the format, the theme, help them come up with a catchy slogan. We really take the stress off their plate so that we can really focus on positioning them in a way that makes them feel like the VIP that they are.
Yeah. So if someone's listening and they want to work with you, remind them, where do they go?
Professionalbrilliance.com, and you'll actually see where you can click for a free strategy session. I would recommend going ahead and doing that. We have several short videos you can check out to really emphasize the importance of your personal brand. You can check out some interviews I've had on podcasts, as well as TV studio that gives more background about my passion and how that ties into the way we work with clients in a more unique way.
Awesome. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see everyone on the next episode.
Yes, and make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn.